Okay, drawing students, so yesterday I asked you to insert a photograph of your still life next to a photograph of your current drawing. So what I want you to do now at the beginning of class is look at the angles and look at the proportion that you see when you compare the two. If you can tell that something is wrong, you're correct. There's something that's off. So I noticed right away that the angle at the top of my camera was incorrect, and then I later noticed that this angle was slightly incorrect. So I went back into my drawing and made some adjustments. The other thing I noticed was that the shoe wasn't long enough, so it was too small, it was out of proportion. So I went back to the drawing and I made some changes, and now this is the current state of it. You can see it here and you can see it on my screen. So at this point, I'm going to continue to do some things, but when I made my changes in the drawing, I just used a paper towel and blended a bunch of the values together. So anywhere where things were confusing, if I had it incorrect area, I just drew over the top and then I blended it back in together. And now I'm using my tortillon and my eraser to go back in and fill in dark values. So you need to make adjustments as far as your shape, but as you're doing that, you can also be adding darkness and light. So if we look at the picture here, I'm working on my cast shadow after I change the proportion of the shoe, because the cast shadow defines the bottom of the shoe, and that's going to help me kind of figure out if I still have changes to make. So I'm going to adjust the cast shadow. There's some cast shadow issues here too that will fix and change things. And everywhere that I'm drawing or erasing or changing things, I'm making sure that I'm eliminating some pencil lines. You want your image to look three-dimensional and not flat. So if you have shading, that's great, but you still have to blend in the edges. So like on the edge of the clothespin, there should be one side that's darker or one side that's lighter. So I have to figure out when I look at the clothespin which part is darker, which part's lighter. If I compare this to this, I can go into my drawing and adjust one side or the other so that they look separate. On the corners of the objects, if they're flat, I'm doing the same thing. I'm adjusting where it's light and where it's dark to make something look, or to make the image look more three-dimensional. So this is what I need you to do today. I need you to go back into your drawing after looking at it and making comparisons, and hide lines as you adjust shapes by erasing or by blending in. And another trick that you can use if you want to clean up an edge and it's blurry, let's say like this one, for example, on the clothespin, if that were really blurry, I could use a different piece of paper and line the paper up where I want that edge to be clear, and then use my eraser and erase against a clean edge. And then when I remove it, I've got a nice sharp edge so I can see where the values are supposed to change. Or for example here, between the cast shadow of the paper clothespin and the clothespin itself, if I need to just make this slightly lighter, I can just erase against this a little bit, and then use my tortillon or a clean part of the tortillon and blend it all so it's slightly lighter, and then remove it and hopefully it's darker, which that didn't work, so I'm going to go back into this. But you end up adding shadows, but I'm trying to get rid of all the outlines so that it looks more 3D when I'm done. So all the edges should have lights or darks, and you can make changes when you see your values or when your shapes are different by just adjusting the shadows and the values in your drawing. And that's it.